Do you know that you have to create a social media following for your podcast but don't know where to start? Well, I'm going to tell you the wrong way to start. Too often, I see new podcast hosts just go create what I call an audiogram. Well, not what I call, really, in the industry, that's what it's called. Essentially, you see something like their show graphic or an episode graphic, and then a little wavy line, and it's just that still graphic with some audio from the show. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but is that the best way to promote your show on social media? Absolutely not. Y'all, I'm Samantha Hollyfield. If you've been around here for a little bit, then you know that I am a marketing consultant. That is how I came to podcasting. I came to podcasting by consulting for a podcast network as a marketer. I helped the network overall with their marketing and individual hosts on that network. I've also helped entrepreneurs and thought leaders and small business owners craft podcasts and the ding, ding, ding here promote those podcasts. And so what I want to tell you, out of all of that experience, over 8 years of it, just in podcasting, 10 years as a marketing consultant, I can tell you that that audiogram is pretty much the bare minimum that you could be doing. And I'm going to say it's not the best use of your time. So time is a big factor here, right? If you are a solo podcaster, if you're doing this on your own, even if you have a really small team, you're looking for ways to make the biggest impact on social media that is also cost effective. And it isn't going to come from that wee audiogram. Now, if you turn maybe that audiogram into a reel, that is getting a little better. Why? Because you need to use media that gets numbers. In other words, you've got to use media that the algorithm wants to reward. And right now in 2023, that is the reel. If you're on Meta, so Facebook or Instagram, you're going to use a reel. Obviously a TikTok. And the beautiful thing is anything you use as a reel, anything you put up on TikTok can also become a YouTube short when it is under a minute long. Y'all, now that suddenly has become a way more powerful way to market your podcast on social media. But that's just not it. Not only do you want to use media that gets numbers, you have to show up the right number of times. Now, maybe not the right number of times, so much as you don't want to show up the wrong number of times. And that means you can't just be slapping up a graphic once a week and crossing your fingers and then saying, man, I just don't know why social media isn't working for me. Or you know what? Instagram just isn't the place I need to be because I just don't see much traction there. Or I just don't need to be on TikTok because I'm just really not seeing the numbers of some of these other people. Y'all. It might not be the platform, it might be how often you are showing up on that platform. Same thing with YouTube. You can't just cross your fingers, throw up a video, and hope it works out and that you can start monetizing. Absolutely not, y'all. Now, you're not going to be a marketer overnight. You're not going to be a person who can create all the best media overnight to promote your show. But you can use so many really cool tools out there to help you do this more effectively. I'm speaking specifically to the person who is doing audio and video for their podcast. Now, if you aren't doing that, I'm going to say you're going to want to start. It is a huge missed opportunity if you are not doing video. Okay, that's a whole other story. But let's say you are doing audio and video. You have the opportunity to go create reels, meaning cropping some of that video, getting it into the right format from your podcast episode. And not just one, but like 3 or 4 or 5. Now, two of those are probably going to be heavier hitting kind of pieces of media than maybe the others. But the point is that you've recorded that episode. Now go take mini clips from it, that audio and video function, not just that boring still graphic, but the video of you speaking, and get it into a program like Captions or use something like Opus Pro that will generate those clips for you, and then go get them on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Shorts for YouTube. It's huge, guys. That is going to make a massive difference in how you market your podcast. And you don't even have to try that hard. Just focus on doing your best audio and video for your podcast. Focus on creating a solid message. And then let something like Opus Pro go create clips for you, or use something like Captions. And here's the deal. You know when you've done a podcast if there are good quotes in there or if there aren't. Now, some people are going to be, just better at this than others just by the way that they speak, the cadence of their voice, etc. But all of us can certainly try this and get a better bang for our buck, better reach per piece of media. So again, that's still audiogram, that boring thing. It's an unpopular opinion here, but I'm going to tell you that it's the right opinion. I've been doing this long enough that I can tell you that it's not enough. If you want to do social media well for your podcast, you have to use the right media. You've got to show up often, and you've got to be authentic and genuine. And an easy way to do that is just to clip from the actual podcast episode, meaning you're not having to learn a bunch of new skills, even though I would say it is worth your time. You're not learning a bunch of new skills, having to go create all these reels and TikToks and shorts and all these things. You're just taking from your podcast episode and getting it into other places. I'm going to say minimum of 3 times a week. Promoting your episode 1 time on social media, that's not enough, y'all. I mean, if you have an enormous platform, sure, you might be able to put something in your stories, do a little link to YouTube or to Apple or whatever platform you're trying to grow, and you can see great numbers. But for most podcasters, that is not the case. You don't have this massive social media following where you can just say something once and see it get traction. No, instead, you've got to show up enough times using media that's going to get more reach, get more impressions, get more views. And do it enough that you can gain traction and build an audience and start seeing more results over time. Once is never enough. Hell, even if you have a really big platform, why are you just saying it once? Say it more. Say it in so many different creative ways. Now, I would love to challenge you and say that it is absolutely worth your time to figure out how to get the confidence to just create little 1-minute clips promoting your episode. And you can start with something as simple as this. I'm just going to give you 5 ideas right now to promote 1 episode. That first reel you could do, again, you are doing already audio and video for your podcast, so you know how to record it. Use that exact same process. Sit down, record these 5 reels that will end up becoming a reel on Instagram, a reel on Facebook, a TikTok, and a YouTube short. So I want it to be under a minute long. It has to be under a minute. Otherwise, you probably already know YouTube's going to say this is not a short. So the first one can just be, this is after you've recorded, by the way, what really excited you in that episode. Something that really lit you on fire and either made you, go against your guest and really fight them on something. And I say that, nicely, not truly combative. But whatever that thing was that lit a fire in you, if you had a guest, or even as a solo episode, that thing that just really made you want to record that episode. Number 2, I want you to share maybe something that was like an aha moment. So something that really, y'all, my dog just started scratching the carpet over here in the corner, and I've got a cat in my lap. Okay, number 2. Oh, here, let's just show you this little fat cat really quick. Oh, here he is. Okay. Number 2 is going to be that aha moment. So it's going to be that thing that really changed your perspective. So if you're doing a solo episode and you're fired up about something, chances are there's going to be a piece of content in there, a thought in there, whatever it is, that really sparked a change in your perspective. That could be reel number 2. Reel number 3 is going to be the reason why somebody needs to listen to this, because it's going to change something for them. So it ain't about you, it's about the listener. Reel number 3 is, what about this episode is going to change something for the listener? Number 4 might just be hyping up that guest a bit. So if you have a guest on there, it's going to be why this person really interested you. What about their story that you found truly compelling? And the last part of that is why the guest needs to listen to this person. And then the 5th thing that I want you to do, so we've talked about, how it's going to change somebody, why this guest is so special for your audience. That's the key there, for your audience. That aha moment that you had that gave you a shift in perspective, the thing that really lit a fire in you. All right, and the last one that I want you to record, I want you to share a piece of advice that came from this episode, whether it's a solo or a guest. Just a little glimpse of that benefit that they're going to get when they show up to this episode. Okay, y'all. So I hope that this challenges you and motivates you to do more on social media. Remember, you don't just want to do still graphics. You got to show up more than once. I'm talking 3 minimum. You got to use media that gets numbers to get the most reach and impressions that you can possibly get. Otherwise, y'all, we don't have time to be doing all these crazy things. And I also want you to make sure that you're repurposing this media across different platforms. Of course, you want to make sure that your audience is on those platforms, but remember, one piece of media, lots of places. And one of the last things I want you to do is jump out of your comfort zone. Go create extra reels and things, pieces of media that will promote this episode based on those 5 ideas that I gave you. If you liked this video, tell me. If you didn't like it, tell me. That's okay. And subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos just like this so you can grow your podcast.